Okay, I don't see the energy. I think not everybody has got the first shower of Mumbai. I want to see a little bit of energy. I think everyone is tired from the round table. Is it? Come on, say yes or no. Yes? Now, let me check how many yes and how many no's. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome. Before starting this wonderful evening altogether, I would like to do a small activity with everybody right here. I know everyone is done, it's really cold, it's feeling nice, but let's start this evening with a activity for you to open up a little. Okay, as we know, such evenings are very rare where all us people over here are together. It's very rare. So it's very important to keep a memory, right? Yes, it's very important to keep a memory that we will always remember as we were all together. So there are certain activities that I will ask you all to do, and in the count of three, you do it. Since we are all together here, we know few people, we do not know few people. So, in the count of three, I want you all to shake hands with the person towards your right and person towards your left. Now, you have to be very careful. You can be with someone who's right in front as well, at the back as well. Sir is already practicing it. Okay, here we go. In the count of three, I want you all to shake hands with the person towards your right, towards your left. Here we go. 3, 2, 1, now. Come on, shake hands. Wow. Hello, Rajesh. Hello, Rakesh. How are you? I'm from LUMIQ. I'm from here. I'm from so and so. I'm from Mumbai. I'm from Noida. I'm from Delhi. Exactly. Superb. Superb. Finally, the people are alive, awake now. Okay, moving on to the next one. Well, we work throughout the year. I think people might here be having 30 years of experience, 20 years of experience. Like in these many years, we got appreciation from the people outside. Yes? Yes, did we? Let's appreciate ourselves. So, in the count of three, I want you all to pat yourself for doing amazing. Come on, 3, 2, 1, go. Pat yourself. Give shabashi to yourself. Yes, you did amazing. Fabulous. Fabulous, Sunita. Fabulous, Sakshi. Superb. With this, now comes the third one and the final task. Well, I will see this task is carried out by men's better or the women better. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, in the count of three, I want you all to click as many selfies as possible of yourself and with the person towards your right or left. Come on, click. Come on, we can do that. Don't worry, boys, men's, gentlemen over here, you can do it. I'm not judging. Fabulous. Click a selfie of yourself. As for being here, click a selfie of the partner who's beside you, of the colleague who's beside you, or anyone around. Superb. I think we have got enough time to click selfies. Okay, let's move ahead. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, let's start this wonderful evening all together. Girls, are we done? Ladies? Okay, I'll give you more time after some time for sure. Ladies and gentlemen, let me welcome you all as we have the chief executives and brightest mind in Indian insurance industry. Ladies and gentlemen, LUMIQ and AWS are hosting this evening together as part of the series called Fulcrum. This is an evening to celebrate the journey the insurance is going through as in the Agentic era. This is not just about wins, but an evening to learn from our experiments. These are the learnings which will make all of us move forward in the journey together and achieve our common goals. Ladies and gentlemen, as we know tonight, it's not just about celebration. It's about learning from the experiments that we did. And to start this evening, to set the tone of the evening, I would like to please welcome Mr. Vaibhav Dobriyal, Dobiji, co-founder and chief production officer, LUMIQ. A huge round of applause for him, please. Everyone. Welcome, sir. Welcome on stage.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us this evening. My name is Vaibhav Dobriyal. I'm the co-founder and chief product officer of LUMIQ. I welcome you all on behalf of AWS as well as LUMIQ. Why it's important? We have been working together for 10 years. So LUMIQ has been around for just 13 years. We just completed 13 on 21st, and we have been working together with them for 11 years. So we'll be completing 11 years. Why it's important? When you're working in areas where new things have to be charted, you need somebody who understands the nuances that it is not going to be perfect. So AI is one such area. But before we start talking about AI, agentic, everything, I want to talk about something which caught my eye. I'm sure many of you would have heard about vibe coding. Vibe coding is the whole concept where you code by just telling the LLMs, what do you want? That whole idea started by Andre Karpathy. He asked one of the latest models, you would have heard about Mythos Fable, right? Which had so many vulnerability exposed, the government shut it down, that, it's risky. He asked the model one simple question. I want to go to a car wash 50 meters from here. Should I walk or should I take a car? The model said walk. So what it essentially says is, he called it jagged intelligence. It's extremely good, superhuman in some of the areas, but it's not so good in some of the obvious things that we humans are. So what it boils down to a fact is, there's a huge opportunity in what it can do for us, provided we put it in the right places. And with that, I want to talk about what is happening right now in every country. There are hundreds and thousands of people who are in hospitals waiting to go home, waiting for their claims to be adjudicated. There are people who are waiting for their policies to be issued. There are people who are waiting for the loans to be debited in their accounts. This is the reality of where we live. Amazon can deliver groceries in minutes, Blinkit can do it. But why can't us in financial services do that? The fundamental point is, it all comes down in most of the cases, and I'm not talking about STP. I think this whole crowd knows what STP and non-STP is, right? So I can take that liberty. But when it goes to non-STP, everything is manual. There is a human sitting somewhere who fears that I should not make a mistake. I should not let a fraud go through. I should be clear about, following the compliance and policy. The load on the other side will constantly keep on increasing. We know the vision that the whole country is pursuing, 2047 insurance for all. But the ground reality is that the humans in their current thing will not be able to deliver this version. And what happens in this cycle is, what that exception or the new disease or new kind of medical condition or the complicated policy doesn't get the treatment that it deserves. It's not that the first time somebody is talking about it. Even we ourselves had been talking about it for years together. The problem was there was no tool to solve it until Agentic AI came through. And that is where we believe that it can shine through. So what are our asks? Our ask is, the AI should be consistent, the AI should be explainable, the AI should be able of taking those explainable decisions in non-STP scenarios. As long as all these parameters, all these constraints of working in our environments are there, we will be okay. A human in the loop would still be required. But what frustrates me is that today when this technology is available, and we ourselves have some of those things. So for example, we built Litecoin. There are customers here who have been using Leo or life insurance underwriter. There are customers in the loop who are using ARIS, the health claim adjudicator, all of them capable of auto decisioning. But there are so many more people, our customers collectively, who are still waiting. So what frustrates me is that despite this kind of technology being able, that burden on that human is still not getting away, and they're not able to find time to go higher up in that pyramid of complex work to solve it. So what is our vision? Our vision is to take this technology, prove it everywhere, not just in India, so that we can A, free up this time, B, bring this experience to our end customers, and C, make sure that there are more and more things which can be delivered on this path. How much time it will take? I think that's how much risk that it possesses. Are the regulators going to allow us or not? I believe it's very difficult to judge the quality of even human work also. So the point is, as long as the frameworks are right, as long as we are able to reimagine how we can look at some of these journeys, as long as we are able to demonstrate the capabilities, everybody will align, because at the end of it, when we look at first principles, when somebody is buying a policy, what is the first principle? The person, the LA, should be able to get the policy in shortest amount of time, provided, like I said, there are no additional risks taken. All the risks that are already well qualified, quantified, and it's all compliant. Similarly, when a claim is adjudicated, there is no unnecessary leakage. So when we look at the first principles, many of these things will collapse, and that's what we are trying to do. That's all the sales pitch we will have today. But what I want is all of us to think that many of the problems that we live today are just figments of the excess baggage from people like us, and I call myself a part of it because we built many of those systems. They can all break apart because we have AI and agentic AI. There was no such thing until now, and I'm speaking it at least on the basis of my experience of 20 years interacting with many of you, not here, but everywhere. So that's my reality. That's where we live. And I think the compounding of AI depends on the fact how much we are able to reimagine, how much we are able to put it at the right places. And it's all up to us to take it to where it deserves to be and work collectively for our customers. I firmly believe that if we have to scale and really implement vision like 2047, insurance for all, it's not possible to do it otherwise. That's all I wanted to talk about. Thank you very much for coming. And I would like to invite Samir from AWS to please take the stage from here. Thank you.
Thank you, Toby. Can you hear me? Perfect. Okay. Thank you, Toby, for that welcome address and giving a good insight into what is awaited for the rest of the evening as well. Just to give a quick introduction, I'm Samir Gupta. I lead business development, industry development for financial services at AWS. By way of my background, I am an ex-banker, ex-corporate banker with Citibank for 15 years. I have managed some of insurance customers as a corporate banker, so I have interacted with your counterparts on the finance department, CFOs and treasurers and so on. Here at AWS, I lead extensively the growth of financial services industry on cloud, looking at transformation. And as Toby mentioned, it's a definitely an era of industry 4.0 or transformation that we talk about. Pretty much every futurist, every thinker has spoken about that we are living, and we have been lucky to have lived in that era where we saw the rise of internet, and then now we will see the rise of AI and agentic AI. And I'll talk about a little bit as to what really it talks about. But before I do that, let me start off with a number here, which is what I read as I was preparing for this, is 50 trillion rupees, 50 lakh crores. That's potentially called as the protection gap that Indians live with across various risks that we have, whether it is health, life, or various protection in terms of insurance products that are available in the market. Now, India is one of the fastest growing, or in fact, the fastest growing insurance large market in the world. But despite that, the insurance penetration is just about anywhere between 3.5% to 4.5%, versus some of the global averages of 7.5, 8, and 10% in developed economies. Now, there is an oft said adage, which is what got you here will not get you there. And that's essentially, again, a theme or a thought process that we are seeing in financial services industry, that what prepared you to be here will not prepare you to serve a billion Indians for their insurance needs, or as we call it, insurance for all by 2047. And I'll give a few examples and relate it with that. As an ex-banker, until probably 10 years ago, we used to take significant pride, although while I am a corporate banker, but on the consumer side, and each one of you will relate with it, as bankers, we used to take pride in doing KYC, know your customer, by taking address proof and ID proof of customers, and be very happy with it. Yes, we have done the KYC, probably not realizing what their financial transactions are. At best, 4 withdrawals over weekends of 10,000, 15,000 from ATMs. Maybe a few standing instructions on the bank account, or credit card transactions if you happen to have the credit card from the same bank. And we were very happy with it, that yes, we know the customer. And fast forward to today, every 5 rupee transaction that you are spending on UPI, the bank is aware of what it is being spent on. And as part of the conversation, we were discussing around health underwriting, and there was a discussion which came in that even at health medical underwriting, probably 10-15 years ago, there were just about 3-4 reports that were available for underwriting. But today, for the industry, there are so many digital and digitized records of information that is available that can augment the underwriting or health assessment of that individual. And that's where the world is headed, that the whole digitization piece has changed the game so much that it necessitates need for AI more intelligently than all ever, which needs to be there. And if I talk about certain examples of what we are seeing in the industry, whether it is underwriting, the example that I gave, or whether it is distribution, clearly 40, 50, 100 million customers that are being served today is not the scale that we need. We need a billion, probably 1.2, 1.3 billion individuals to be reached out in the next 10 to 20 years. And current solutions are not scaled. Again, Dobby articulated that vocally self-critical aspect of it, that we ourselves have built that, but we need to reimagine it completely. And that's what the theme is, that how can we reimagine insurance with agentic AI. Now, if I talk about agentic AI, essentially, just to demystify some of the aspects, yes, it is being called as the most transformational aspect around it, but at very fundamental level, what it is doing is it is allowing you to have a autonomous thinking, reasoning, and taking action all put together as a single source of information. Now, I'll take again back to an example that we have seen through our journeys of embracing digital or embracing technology, which is what happened when digitization happened. There were physical forms, probably 2-pager, 3-pager forms, and all of these forms, pretty much every industry, and more so financial services industry, they mapped exactly that physical form into a digital form. So if there were 200 fields in the physical form, even the digital form had 200 fields. And then somebody realized that this is not being truly digital. Truly digital being means that if I have to capture the address, and if I take the PIN code, I know the state, I know the area, I know the location, and I know a few more information which can be pre-populated, and I don't have to ask the consumer to fill it. So one, I change the user experience for the customer, because then I ensured that by taking fewer fields, I made that journey seamless. And then not just that, I also ensured that any kind of data entry errors which were captured later on, after the customer has filled in those 200 fields form, and then realizes that, oh, I wrote Andheri, but I put the PIN code of Ghatkopar, that should not have been there. And then I go back to the customer and say, hey, what is the right information? And this is just a very minor example, but this percolates to so many different fields that are there. And this is where transformation happened with digital. saying how can you really change the way you are engaging with the customer. And this is exactly what is happening with Agentic as well. And we are seeing that with a lot of our customers. What essentially some of the customers started off doing probably about a year ago when all these agents came in is, okay, I have a 15-step process. Can I put 15 agents? I have an agent here, I have an agent here, I have an agent to do this, I have an agent to do this, and so on, and I will make this process completely automated and completely agentic, if I may call it. But not realizing that with generative AI, we do have a power to ensure that one, we are able to augment significantly more information that is not humanly possible. So if today you are taking 15 documents from the customer, you can actually take 50 documents which you did not build into the process because you wanted the process to complete in a certain time frame. Obviously, even if it is a 1 hour onboarding journey, you want to finish that in 1 hour. You don't want to take it, 2 days. So you are restricting, and in the mindset itself, you are restricting, saying, okay, I will take only these 15 documents and not 50 documents which are available, but you don't want to take them. The second piece comes in is that because financial services specifically has been built as processes or desks, one desk moving to another desk and so on, the processes have been defined as sequential processes, not realizing that with agentic AI, you can actually start doing parallel processing on a lot of things. For example, customer enters their PAN, and you can start getting so much information from the ecosystem. You can start building certain profile of the customer. You take in one data feed, additional data feed, and you augment that further. And as you keep on going into the journey, you can have those parallel threads running. Obviously, there will be certain sequential threads that will come in, but essentially building it as a truly agentic process which requires you to rethink or reimagine that business process completely. And that's what a lot of our financial institutions like yourselves are embarking on that journey. Not to say that technology is the solution for everything. As part of the discussion we were doing, that it does require a lot of embracing the technology. And again, there are so many more examples being said that it's not that AI is going to be taking away jobs, but AI will definitely take away jobs of people who are not embracing AI as part of their roles or not elevating their thinking or mindset. So what we call essentially diffusion of any technology, whether it is AI or anything, it does require your personal change. So that is one very important aspect that we would want to discuss as part of this, that how do we really embrace it together to make this industry significantly better and happier for each one of us and our customers. And the other piece which becomes very, very important is that, yes, at the end of the day, technology becomes a very important enabler. And that is something that we want to present in front of you as part of discussions and examples that we would do here. I would, thank you, each one of you, to, spend your time here with us. You've taken your time out to spend with us. Let's make it a lot more meaningful. I'll want to thank LUMIQ as well for being our partner for 11 years in this journey. They've been a very strong partner for us in financial services, understanding the customer needs and developing those solutions that give that transformative change for our customers. And more importantly, we are here for you to help you in your journey of transformation in whichever shape and form it is. But thank you so much and look forward to engaging with each one of you as part of the evening. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Mr. Sameer. And thank you so much, Mr. Dobie, for setting the tone of the evening with such a strong outcome. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, a partnership over a decade old deserves a standing. And it is a testament for focus that both LUMIQ and AWS carry for financial services and solving the problems that matter. With that, ladies and gentlemen, our next session is about the AI journey every insurer in the room is running through, figuring out where to start, what to fund, what to put into production, and how to keep it running once the volume hits. We have framed this journey in 4 stages: elevate, prioritize, implement, and scale. Elevate, when AI moves from novelty pilots to the numbers of business is run on. Prioritize picking the decision worth handling to AI in any function and the ones to leave alone. Implement when AI is making decisions in production, claims underwriting, servicing distribution, anywhere it has been put to work, not pitched but running. Scale when AI is making not a few but hundreds of decisions every day across geographies, products, and channels. To debate this journey, please welcome our 5 panelists right here. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put our hands together for Sheila Anand, CEO and whole-time director, Narayan Health Insurance. A huge round of applause for her. Moving on. Balakrishna Singhania, Chief Data and Analytics Officers and EVP HDFC Life. A huge round of applause for him as well. Fabulous. Moving on. Sham Seshadri, CTO, Kiwi Insurance. A huge round of applause for him as well. Welcome, sir. Next on, Dr. Puneet Kaur Kohli, CTO, Generali Central Life Insurance. A huge round of applause for him. Kazad Hiramanek, COO, Edelweiss Life Insurance. A huge round of applause. Well, seeing such wonderful panelists right here, it feels amazing, and there's so much of insights that we are going to experience right here. Ladies and gentlemen, with this, we move ahead, and I call upon all our panelists right here. The stage is all yours. With this, moving on, may I please invite our moderator, Snehesh Patil, the youngest and one of the brightest LUMIQers in the room. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for them. Well, good luck, Snehesh. The session is all yours, and the panelists are right here.
Thank you, Shrishti. Thank you for the introduction. I might be the youngest one, but I have a bigger appetite, that would I say, when it comes to business. First of all, thank you everyone for coming in, and thank you for the panelists that you have joined us today. So Mr. Samir said an amazing thing about embracing AI in our day-to-day life now and in our businesses. And I have a quick story to share with you all. So back in 2016, the godfather of AI, Geoffrey Hinton, stated that maybe in coming down the line years, the radiologist, there would be no training required for radiologists, and things would be carried out in an AI world wherein AI will take care of their jobs. But back to 2026, right now, what we have seen is the number of radiologists have increased, that they have only grown, they have not shrunk. The terminology AI, which he referred, that there would be no requirement of such, like, the AI would take up everything and everything. So the tool right now is used by radiologists for the betterment and the effectiveness of the overall process, and not just that it would take up their jobs. So it's not basically replacing everything. What I would say is the history of AI is full of confident predictions like this, and that did not land the way they were promised. Every week, each of us in this room makes calls against this backdrop, which AI to use, as in, which pitch to be, like, which pitch is working on well, then which pilot to put into production, which production system to scale at scale, trust at scale. The noise has been louder. The keywords which we hear every day right now is agentic, autonomous, end-to-end solutions, and the list goes on and on. So with this, what I would say is we have an amazing panel with us from life, health, and a young insurer, I would say, each making those calls in a given context. So let me start with the framed agenda for this particular discussion, wherein my first question would be to Sheila ma'am. This is regarding the first stage, that is Elevate. So Sheila ma'am, every quarter you are pitched more AI than ever before, and as an CEO, what makes it into your organization's agenda, and what is the kind of pitch you have learned to say no to? No matter how good no matter how good the demo is.
Currently, I don't think I'm saying no to any pitch. Right now, I just exchanged my card with LUMIQ, I said, okay, please meet me. Basically because it's like you want to know more and you want to learn more. But yes, I think we keep meeting organizations, we keep seeing the new developments, and we have a lot of need to digitize. Forget digitization, now it's like more than that. So basically, what makes it to say yes to meet somebody is saying what is the problem that they're solving. So we don't want to meet people who have saying I have AI, I can do this, I can do that, because for me at this point of time I think AI has become a word like it's just a buzzword right now. But we are yet to see a lot more things. So basically, it's good to know everything, learn everything, but what gets into the room for a discussion or maybe a second round of discussion could always only be something that really addresses my problem today.
Okay.
Especially as far as health is concerned, what it could be in underwriting, it could be in claims or adjudications, it could also be about finding fraud, abuse, and everything, right?
Right.
So basically, that is the need today.
Okay, great. So my second question is to Mr. Bala. So for this particular question is from the stage prioritize, wherein for every quarter the list of AI use cases, maybe every quarter the list of AI use cases competing for your data team and your budget gets longer, right? What pattern keeps failing? That is one of the things which I wanted to ask in terms of what kind of use cases has actually moved a number that business reports on.
Very good question, and actually very relevant question. Today, because AI and agentic and everything else is the novelty, we see from the kind of request we get two type of things. One, something that can be done by, let's say, traditional AI, predictive analytics, and so on. Everyone comes to me and say, I want an agentic solution to do this because it sounds cool. Not everything needs that kind of stuff, and it can be very expensive also to run those. So that's a general part. Second part that we keep seeing is lot of people have wonderful ideas in terms of what they want to achieve, but the process or the data or the strategy around once it is done, how will you actually use it on the ground is often not ready, even if data is ready. So I'll give you an example. You want, for example, your frontline sales to use certain AI for frontline sales. But the frontline guy says, and I'm just exaggerating the answer, I know my customer. I don't need your AI. Now, I have to understand the mindset of that person, because what I end up doing from AI perspective is this type of customers normally buy that.
Right.
But the incentive structure to the localized knowledge to lot of other things are not there in the mix of the model. Doesn't make the model bad, but the strategy from the AI to the frontline guy, that is at times broken. So those are the ones that beyond POC, it's very difficult for us to scale.
Right.
The places where some of these things are actually in place is where it is working very, very nicely. For example, we have sort of for our partners and for frontline sales, saying what is the status of my policy, etc. We have a chat GPT kind of interface which understands what the query is, and rather than opening 6 or 10 different apps for different purposes, the single app has bunch of integrations. It understands the query. You don't have to say press 1 for this, 2 for that. Very much like that interface, and bring certain type of efficiency, and more importantly, decrease the load on your smartphone as well.
Right.
So that's an example. Servicing is one area where we see a lot of use cases in terms of, let's say, when a claim goes for investigation, there is a thick investigation report. While the entire report is there for the investigator, they want a summarizer. Now, that's a small example, maybe a bit older use case, but those are very, very useful on the front side. And those are the pieces because we know what the end user will use it. And that is where we see either, for example, in the first case, improve in the productivity, which results in higher top line. And in the second case, decreasing the time of investigation, which means better customer experience and lower cost.
Right.
So everything we try to do, we say beyond POC, beyond novelty factor, it has to be either better top line or better customer experience or better bottom line. So that's broadly what we try to do.
That was quite an insightful answer, sir, because part to production is something which is really critical for every organizations right now when it comes to AI, right? So my next question is to Mr. Shyam, one of the youngest insurer here. And I would say that my question gives you more freedom because most of the leaders here would envy you because you have an open field, I would say. So with you, every assumptions in this industry particularly is given, right? So what is that assumption you have refused to inherit? As in, what is the problem you have watched that industry tried to solve with the use of AI, but the main issue was not to fix it because problem was not in the first place?
It's a difficult question, right? And I think I'll put it slightly differently. The amazing freedom and the ability to, what we have is the ability to start from first principles, which other insurers have definitely solved over time and have different legacy and different reasons to build certain things. We're starting from first principles saying, why does this exist? Is this the right way to do it? And given the tools that we have today, if we are to start today, is this still the right way to do things?
Right.
90% of the times the answer still might be, yes, that was the right way to do it. The 10-20% cases where we say, there's a chance to do something different here is where we are saying, okay, why does this exist? It could be simple things like which modes of payment, could be simple things like, does this need some human to interact? Is there an automation process? And so on and so forth, right? I think iteratively doing that again and again for every step of the process, from your quotation to your proposal, to your policy, to your servicing, to your claims, and doing that again and again is the approach we're taking. In doing all of that, right, I think what we realize is we don't need some of the tools that everybody needs today. We might need it in some time as we scale and as we get some of those problems. But what it allows us to do is saying, okay, if, and I'm just throwing it out there, not saying that is the problem, we throw a lot of solutions. This is also from my Tata AG experience. We throw a lot of solutioning at finding frauds, for example, right? Frauds exist across the entire value chain. Now, they exist for multitude of reasons, but if I automate, if I remove the manual intervention and the different stakeholders as much as possible in each step, my surface area that I need to solve for reduces.
Okay.
I will still need some controls, I will still need some checks and balances, but by reducing my surface area, the kind of tools and solutions I need, whether I need through AI or OCR or whatever that might be, or network graphs or whatever that might be, I'm trying to reduce my surface area fundamentally, right?
Right.
That's the general approach that we've been able to take. We'll see where that lands, but fingers crossed.
I'm sure it will land to the safest place. Yeah, so thank you, Shyam, for that wonderful answer. My next question is to Mr. Kaizad. So as a COO, you live with a daily art of balancing what you have inherited and new AI ways of doing things. The temptation is to redo everything at once. Priorities, budgets, and a stack that must keep running, pull the other way. How do you find that balance and where do you choose to start?
That's a very good question. And honestly speaking, I actually come from a business orientation. I just happen to handle technology as well. And the first thing I tell my technologists and, budding innovators is that, let's get serious. We are an insurance business. We are not a technology business. Okay, so let's not aim for, pie in the sky type of thinking. That being said, very clearly, I think this entire principle of AI, if looked at from the right lens makes a lot of sense in business. So typically, I would say that the entire solutioning of AI in a business should come from business and not technology. So technology should not lead AI implementation. Business should lead it because they know what they want. And very importantly, pie in the sky thinking should be discouraged. So if you really think about it, what we did successfully is, and I was mentioning to Sheila ma'am as well at the beginning of this event, is that I think we did a lot of grunt work in terms of getting our data and governance and, definitions and sources right. So it took us about 2.5 years of very hard work to sunset a lot of legacy systems, put definitions to each piece of data, make sure that it's centralized. And, LUMIQ has worked very, very closely with us. So that's my sponsor's message as well, Shoaib. So, we've worked very closely with LUMIQ as an implementation partner to get our data strategy right. So we called that project the Dataverse. And I must say that I am very proud of the fact that in that process, we realized that there was a lot of redundant data, a lot of, multiple sources of truth, which we kind of eliminated. And one of the things that I am very proud of is the fact that we don't have any MIS or any data floating around in Excel sheets. Everything comes from a system, everything is defined, and therefore the strain on the organization when it comes to getting one moment of truth, not unnecessarily struggling to put together presentations, etc., has been completely eliminated. So if you ask me, just getting your data strategy right to start with is a big achievement in any organization, especially if you have legacy applications and multiple sources of data. That being said, the one thing that we decided very clearly post that was that we are not going to use AI for all the sexy stuff just yet. Okay, we are going to use AI to make ourselves a far more productive and a far more effective organization. So, like I mentioned, the Dataverse as a project. So one of the things we did is, and pardon me saying so, but people in the front end of insurance are not necessarily the brightest tools in the shed when it comes to use of data. So how do we humanize that data so that the person at the front end is able to get whatever information he needs without having to, drag and drop and, use a cube to kind of figure out, what is the drill down of the leads and, what is the drill down of the appointments, etc. He can just kind of put in a very simply worded query and get the answers from the Dataverse that we have. That works well in the hierarchy as well, because at a regional level, somebody is going to ask that same question and know exactly how many leads are in the pipeline, how many appointments have been fulfilled, how many benefit illustrations have been generated, what is the status of the sale, etc. So, very simple stuff. Similarly, for our marketing, generating brochures, generating, marketing campaigns, generating information of the industry. These are, this is how you build a culture of AI usage in the organization. Of course, the next step will be to take that, entire manifestation of AI to identifying documents in your underwriting, to managing, claims in one go, etc., doing your 1-hour issuance. So honestly speaking, my message to the organization is, hey, we've worked very hard to build a tight technology ecosystem, which is, rules-based, which has a lot of controls when it comes to reporting, regulation, etc. Don't try to reinvent that. Look at areas where AI can actually embellish all the hard work we've already done instead of trying to reinvent the entire wheel. And see how that AI makes you effective in terms of making you do things which actually require your expertise, your attention, your decision making. And B, how does it help in terms of affecting the experience of the distributor at the front end and the customer who's the final recipient. Okay, and I think we are absolutely right. I think Samir made a very good point that there is so much rich data available in the digital, one Aadhaar validation has so many, pieces of information, your age, your telephone number, your address, your photograph. So, a lot of that stuff. So, and I remember a couple of years ago when we started this journey and, we actually did the entire login process. It was about 25 minutes. Today it's down to 9 minutes. So because of tight integrations with APIs, understanding process steps and making them reflexive, the amount of load on the front end guy to acquire information, make it cognizable, allow it to flow quickly, allow decisions to be taken on the fly has largely been eliminated. So where AI comes in now is in terms of what do I do to embellish the experience of the distributor or the customer or even the back-end processor to that extent? How do I make him more effective rather than just efficient?
Thank you. Thank you for your kind words, sir. Thank you for sharing the experience with Dataverse and working with LUMIQ. Won't restrict my questions to the panelists, but I would like to ask the audience a simple question. We talk about AI now. Just wanted to understand from your end, in last 12 months, how many of you have championed a use case, AI use case? Can you please raise your hands? Just two? Yeah, there is more opportunity, Mayur. Yeah, so this question is asked because I wanted to understand what was the journey like from championing it to actually landing it to executing it. Was it difficult? Those of you who have raised hand, was it difficult for you to actually execute it? Yeah, so the next round of questions, questions are basically for that particular thing itself, where the journey actually stalls, I would say. So my question is to all of you, or to the panelists, that from the 4 stages that we framed right now, like elevate, prioritize, implement, and scale, name the one where the industry is more, it is more stuck today. And tell us maybe in a line or so. So let us begin with Mr. Bala.
For me, it is more about scaling in a meaningful manner, both in terms of cost, whether it has the right ROI, and so on. So a lot of use cases come from a novelty purpose, or yeah, I can do this. But scaling where the cost is justified is the most difficult part.
Rightly said, sir. Sheila ma'am?
Okay, so I think all the 4 stages depends on the insurance company's stages of their life. Like they are the absolute new baby on the block. We are about 2 years old on the block. So for him, it's going to be evaluation, whereas for me, it is about implementation. And the question that you were asking, right? It's all very easy for us to evaluate, look at everything. But when it comes to actual implementation, it really takes, in simple words, it just takes your life out because the landing has to be proper. And if that is not done, then it's like, the data that comes out is absolutely wrong and there is no use of it. Then you're reinventing the whole process, what went wrong everywhere. So I think basically I feel that the implementation team or the implementation of that entire process is the stage where each of one has to be involved and ensure that it happens. Otherwise, the entire cost that has been taken to save something else, we are buying something else, right? Because it makes me feel that it's as simple as it makes me feel, okay, I will have less staff doing data entry. I will have less errors by somebody not putting their bank account number versus the customer's bank account number. All of us have gone through that stage. So today we want to reach that place that I am a zero error place. But to reach there, I think it takes a lot of effort. And if those solutions are in place, then you can look at growth and a few other things. Otherwise, the attention of the leadership team goes into solving this. And then it's like, where is the growth? So it's double-edged.
Shyam?
For me, I think baby on the block in some sense, right? For me, the order also is slightly different, saying prioritize first because you have limited cards to play. If I stretch across everything, you can't do justice to anything, right? You'll do 20% effort on every single thing and do nothing at the end. So prioritize becomes the key for us at this stage to be able to know what bets to take and then being able to evaluate. And we are not yet at the evaluate, scale, impact, that part yet, right? So it's really being very, very precise. And AI with the way it is today, right? It's like you have a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You want to put AI in every single part of the entire ecosystem. And then like which ones make sense to do it the traditional way and which ones really get a rocket attached to it by using AI at the right time, right? And so that's the critical part of being able to be very sharp, saying these are the 1 or 2 bets that we want to take in this quarter and just go full hog behind it.
Right.
Right. So, it's interesting that suddenly I feel kind of old in this panel because I was always used to saying that we are the youngest life insurance company, but now we've got, 2 and 3 years as well. So yeah, 0 and 2. Yeah. So, I mean, at 15 years, we are kind of grown up now. So that being said, yeah, I think if you ask me, I think with the combined experience of people within our company and the use cases that are available, I think our main challenge and priority remains on scale. Because the one thing that we've done well, if you ask me, is the fact that we've kind of unleashed the AI more from an internal effectiveness point of view. So people have kind of got used to playing with it, seeing what it can do for you. And I think we are now at that stage where we can kind of expose it to the front end. So, whether it is in terms of, proposal acceptance, in terms of claims acceptance, in terms of benefits administration, and at the same time make it explainable. Because see, eventually, whatever the AI does, you can't do it without the human in the loop. Because the product by nature is a product of trust. See, think about it. It's the most expensive piece of paper other than your marriage contract that you'll ever buy. Okay? And all said and done, the tenure, in a marriage contract nowadays seems to last less than the tenure of the insurance contract.
True.
So that, no, you seem to be very enthusiastic about that. I'm just coming up on 25 years of marriage. So my insurance policies have all matured. My marriage is still maturing. That being said, the fact of the matter is that I think it's time to unleash the power of AI, especially on top of what we've built. Trying to rebuild the world is a no-no. Let's be very clear about it, because there are enough guys who have all these really wacky ideas in terms of how we can replace the core admin system and how we can completely eliminate workflows, etc. That's not going to happen, and that should not happen also. Okay, the people who say that are the people who should straight away be taken for counseling in the organization. At the same time, working on what you have, working on moving things to the front end. So one of the things that we're doing just now at POC stage, for example, is our entire email management. How does AI kind of categorize emails? How does AI kind of answer the more kosher stuff, but with the human in the loop? So everything is explainable. Similarly, I mean, one of the novel use cases that we have is for our auditors. See, if you think about it, anybody who runs operations has a full-time job managing the auditor. Okay, just as the management has a full-time job managing, regulation today, an operating unit has to manage the auditor 24/7. So how do you, make sure that, you don't go into a slugfest on constant need for data and reports and, insights, and let the auditor have access to the AI to do all of that without affecting a human being who also has to manage a month end and a quarter end. Okay, I can see a lot of smiles, so you know exactly what I'm talking about. So, this is the kind of stuff that we are looking at in terms of scale of AI now.
So maybe one last question to you all. And Kaizad sir, if you can take it. The headline for the call, every leader has to take maybe tomorrow morning.
Yeah.
What it should be?
I think scale, trust, and work on technology later.
Brutal in prioritization, ship things fast.
build responsibly?
It's return on investment right now. That's the final core message
Rightly
at the
said,
end
ma'am.
of not only this session, but at the end of every discussion. So whatever you want to do, whether you want to bring in sales, whether you want to implement things for fraud, abuse, everything, but the net result is what matters. And it's not very easy, right? Because we are in a world where everything is getting digitized. But I still want to add a word. I think as far as adaptability of AI is also concerned, I think India will be way ahead in doing that than any other country, because I feel the way we adapted to Google Pay, Razor Pay, whatever you want to call it, and also the way the healthcare systems, and I come from the health sector also, right, and the background of hospitals. So basically what I see is the people, the way they're adapting to this, and the doctors are adapting to it. That is making a huge difference, because initially I think these are additional from me, but initially when we went to a doctor, and the doctor actually used to get irritated when he used to say, because we've read so many things. I've had recent experiences. So I can say that when we read so many things and go there, the doctor used to get irritated, saying, am I the doctor or you? I'm also seeing that the doctors are adapting, saying, did you Google, did you chat GPT, did you do cloud, what all, kya karke aaye ho? Just let me know. So that, they come onto the same page. Right. That, I think, on the healthcare sector was very important. And the way things have been digitized, getting doctors to actually use the software and not the writing thing, it is all started way long time back. So now the doctor is also moving towards that. And everything else in healthcare on robotic, and somebody sitting somewhere doing the surgery here. I think India will be the first to adapt everything. And maybe in a year or two, when you call all of us out here, the 1502, all of us will have a lot of stories to say.
True, ma'am. And thank you for that insightful discussion what we had. With this, we are closing the panel discussion. But I would like to say one thing. The leaders we have here are the ones who starts this journey with us together. They are the ones who can stall them, and they are the one who will take them ahead within this particular eco space. Please join, and let's thank the panelists, Ms. Sheila, Bala sir, Shyam, and Mr. Kaizad, for having such a lovely conversation with me. Yeah.
Thank you so much to all our panelists. Also, thank you so much, Snehesh, for moderating it so well. And with this, ladies and gentlemen, it's now time for us to move on to the next session. Ladies and gentlemen, our next conversation turns from strategy to ground reality. And yes, we move from why insurance must be reimagined to what it takes in practice to make that shift. To take us through the conversations, please welcome a leader who has built the underwriting function across 4 carriers over 15 years, and who today serves as the honorary president of the Insurance Medical Officers Club of India, the voice of the medical underwriting community in the country. At Indusland Nippon Life Insurance, he leads underwriting across operations excellence, automation, medicals, and reassurance. Please welcome to the stage Dr. Sujit Sankhe in conversation with our moderator. A huge round of applause for him, everyone. Ladies and gentlemen, let's put hands together for Shoaib as well. Welcome, welcome on stage. Okay, the stage is all yours, and that's how we start the fireside chat.
First of all, thank you so much, Dr. Sujit, for joining in. And I think I didn't know that you are part of that medical doctor association.
Oh, yes. So I am actually, by profession also, I've been a doctor. I practiced also for a few years before joining insurance industry. And yeah, so there's something called Insurance Medical Officers Club of India. So I've been the president for last 6, 7, 8 years. It is actually now more or less, thanks to AI, it is becoming dormant. Probably we may not need much of the help from medical officers going ahead. Yes, they will remain a part of it, but hopefully, we'll probably talk about it.
Yeah, no, sure. So that's the interesting part, because medical underwriting has been one piece where everybody has not been kind of come up to speed. People still, whenever a case is medical, it always go for some human to underwrite, right? So that's why we thought that it'll be, let's make it a interesting conversation. That how do you see, and I think you, in that sense, I always feel that underwriters, and that to a medical underwriter, it's very difficult kind of job, right? That on one side you have customer expectations, sales guys are sitting there, they're trying to put pressure on you, kind of, and you are the gatekeeper of the risk, right? Tomorrow, if some claim comes, then you will be the first person to be asked, right? Why did you underwrite this? Were you able to analyze all the data fields? And on one hand, you have so many data fields, right? So you are, every company wants to increase business. So on one side, you have to manage the risk. And on the other side, you have to also increase the business, right? Somewhere you have to balance the two. So that's a very tight balancing act. And I think what we are going to cover today, and what I want to ask you, that sitting on those sitting at this center intersection, how do you see this this word changing, and especially the role of medical underwriters, right? A lot of medical, because there is a lot of work being done on improving the efficiency of these LLMs on the medical side, because that's one area where if it can help the human, I think it can be used for a lot of processes. But specifically in the medical underwriting, how do you see whether you see AI replacing the underwriters or AI augmenting the medical underwriters to do their job better?
Interesting one. Basically, not only medical underwriting. Underwriting has a lot of aspects, financial, residential, and all. I feel that once we achieve, desired amount of automation, the underwriters, or for that matter, all the people who are working right now in insurance industry, especially the operation side, those who just follow processes, who just listen to what others are saying or boss is saying, they probably end up becoming, very soon they will become redundant.
Okay.
Those who likes to work extra hard, improve, they will survive. And those who like to innovate will thrive.
Okay. No,
So
very interesting.
this is something which I feel that, as a, what I have seen for last so many years, and how the things are moving with AI coming in. These three things I feel, there are 3 types of underwriters who probably, or for that matter, all the specialists. It is not, AI is not going to be only underwriting. Yes, underwriting started using automation probably as the first of in the insurance industry. But yes, it is applicable to all. So you have to remember who are going to be redundant, who are going to, survive, and who are going to thrive.
No, that's a very interesting 3 categorization that you've done. But like, especially because why I picked up medical underwriting, because that's one area where, so for other things, there was a lot of rule engines or medical LLMs like people build machine learning models, but they were not very successful. So
Perfect. I think I missed the point of medical underwriting here, and you know, digitization is happening across.
yes,
AI is using that digital inputs to actually save a lot of time. Where I mean, being an underwriter, if I had to do manual assessment of medical, I'm likely to do more mistakes. And I would like AI to do it for me and summarize for me.
okay.
And I am going to be the checker.
Checker.
So
No, that's
I'm sure in few years AI will have another AI as checker. But right now, for next few years, probably underwriter stays, he becomes checker.
checker.
So yes, medical underwriting actually will thrive with AI, and I support big time. After being a doctor, I know there are chances that I may need less doctor than what I need now to do medical underwriting. But if that works, that works. Doctor become combination of doctor and engineer probably in next few years and all.
No, that's what I like. Everybody is saying that what are the jobs that will be that will survive this AI wave, right? So one thing that will always survive is that the risk in the organization has to be underwritten by some human. AI can do everything, but ultimately there'll be some human responsible for saying yes, it's good to go. So your thought resonates directly with me that whatever is done, that ultimately I can help you check, and you become the supervisor. Agents are instead of like having so many doctors, you have agent doctors with you, and they are doing the job for some of those things. So that's the word that we also see. Moving on to my next question, Dr. Sakev. So what we see in medical underwriting also, that people are taking medical reports, trying to summarize them, or trying to make sense of those reports, or taking ECG and then trying to do those things. These are the things that I see, that these are all like step changes, right? But these are not path-breaking changes in that sense. So what stops us from completely reimagining the process, rather than just taking the existing process and then take the part of it and then trying to improve that part, rather than relooking at the things? I know in enterprises it's very difficult to change things, but why are we still not setting ourselves path to a bigger change?
Actually, I got up questions. Why, why would not insurance company want to do everything, get AI in everything they can do, and not in pockets? I think I was hearing to Kaizad, and he said that we should, it might cost us quite high. So we should first check which part of our current process. Let's not reinvent the wheel, and which part of the current process can be, helped by AI. How can we augment the current process by AI, and not simply use AI in all the processes? Underwriting, what I remember underwriting is it changed a lot. I remember from the traditional underwriting, we moved to accelerated underwriting. Then there was what you call as simplified underwriting, evidence-based underwriting, and predictive underwriting.
Or Einstein.
So these 4-5 layers of underwriting, we already seen the automation, the basic automation, not AI, but the automation happened in first 1.5 decade since 2000. And in late last decade, we saw AI coming in. In next 5-6 years, we have already seen couple of siblings coming in, Gen AI and then Agentic AI. And I won't be surprised we have couple of more siblings coming in next 5 years. So I think with the kind of low margin insurance company have, and even the regulator regulates the operational expense,
Of the insurance
company have to be careful while spending. Some insurers may get the budget out of it, and they just want to start. Probably new companies have that freedom of spending more. But yes, I have seen companies are thinking twice, and that's the reason why you have seen things are coming in pockets. But we have seen a lot of pockets in the last few years, and I think it's a time where we should realize we have enough use cases, and we know by far and large that these are the areas where we can augment our current processes with the help of AI. And yeah, I think that is the crux of how we can move ahead from now on. And I see good days thanks to AI with this approach.
No, I think this resonates very well with the panel discussion that we were having. Yeah. There are two things that they mentioned, right? Sheila ma'am and Bala, they agreed that ROI is the most important thing, right? You already have a expense for doing anything. So when you want to do it, it should result into some kind of ROI. And ROI is not just in my view, it's not just the cost of like people. It's just not about the productivity. It is also about overall.
Perfect.
Overall.
I mean, one part is whenever we are doing some changes, some processes, some use cases, we will look at couple of major points. One, is it making our current process efficient by improving the TAT? And second, are there cost savings? So these two things, if we can justify, it's very easy for us to convince management. And it is something has been the biggest hurdle so far, because we don't know how AI is going to evolve. The way, the kind of evolution it has shown to us, it is making them little concerned to simply just spend the money without even thinking twice. I mean, that's what the problem so far right now I feel, and I hope that it becomes little, because there are so many people trying to use AI and give so many services. We have to be very sure whom we are getting approached from and whom we should believe. So yes, we have a lot of choices. And,
but you have to choose wisely, right?
And we have to choose wisely.
Yeah. No. So moving on, this watch is putting a lot of pressure on me. We are already it's 2 minutes left. I just want to ask one more question, which is which always comes to my mind. That we are doing a lot of so when any company looks at it, they always first pick up the sales point, right? Point of sales, and that is where you see a lot of improvements. So there are a lot of changes which are even happening today on the point of sales, and then so distribution is improving a lot. You have newer ways of selling. Now, you underwriting or the new business team has to kind of respond to those changes. So, and typically then underwriter will also have to respond, right? So what do you see, what kind of changes you are making today to underwriting, and how do you see that in future? Because we are not talking about AI in only this underwriting ops. We are also talking about improving the overall sales experience of the customer. And in the beginning, Dobby mentioned that India is getting more used to Blinkit and Swiggies of the world, where like you just order and while talking, the things will be delivered to you. They are not used to, although now earlier we used to say that insurance is the only product where you pay first and then somebody will tell you whether you can buy the product or not. Never happens in sale, but it used to happen in sales, in insurance. It doesn't happen now because of the regulation, but still the expectation of customers is increasing. So how are you handling it today, and how do you see that 2 years, 3 years from now, how are you getting yourself ready for those kind of changes?
Actually, there is an expectation from business that even before, in a lighter note, even before I am filling the application, my application should be, policy should be issued. And that is what the expectation is, and it is similar to the line lines you're talking about, Blinkit and Amazon, where you get, delivery in few minutes. Yeah, but then to be fair, they expect us to be a business underwriter now and not the risk underwriter.
Okay.
From underwriting point of view, I have to balance both. I should not be too conservative to make them feel that, he's only there for rejecting. And I cannot be too liberal to make company books bad. So I have to balance, and that is where the experienced underwriter would like to go. Typically, the sales application should have good back-end support from the underwriting rules, and we should be able to provide a decision, if not the solution,
Okay.
at source itself. So this will make sales comfortable. The distribution will be happy. While doing this, we have to be very careful about how the risk has been taken care of. So we know, with help of AI, we know which customer I can offer best of the options. I can give the decision right away. And we know that these are the customers I cannot trust. So I have to be more careful. So I choose customer, I select customer, and based on that I give best of the, so I improve where I am very comfortable with. I improve my servicing where I am very comfortable with. This goes for all new business servicing, and also we have to be we should have a lot of, analytics behind it. We should use data very carefully, and a lot of AI applications are available where we can make the things really, efficient. So yes, I think with business, it is very important that we keep talking, we keep understanding their expectation, and the back end, we should ensure that we take care of our books, we take care of the risk checks, and balancing everything correctly will be the point where you make a difference. So yeah, I think it's very clear.
That's a very interesting thought, and I think you're very right, that kind of push it to the front end, right, in that sense, and then embed the whole underwriting process in the sales process itself, so that you are getting the right customers who are matching your risk appetite, and then your decision making is becomes a lot easier, and it brings more predictability to sales guys that these are the cases which will be passing through. You don't have to kind of worry too much, rather than fighting.
We have to keep on improving our models. And it is ongoing process. Right now, we are not having best of the comfort, but I'm sure going ahead, this will keep on increasing, and this will keep on improve, and we will be in much comfortable position than what we are now.
Thank you so much, Dr. Sankhe. Our time is up. But any last thoughts? Any?
No, I think the questions were quite, what do you call, as you asked most of the questions which I thought I know. I'm more or less clear, but yes, I will keep the things very simple. I want things to be balanced. I would not suggest anyone to just go all the way.
Okay.
Do not exaggerate anything. Keep the things under control. AI is there to augment, but do not let AI take over.
Okay.
So
no, that's
everything, you have to balance it out.
Balance it out.
So yeah,
that's the right message. Use the right tool for the right purposes, and don't be worried. Adopt it. But I always say that either you make it your slave in that sense, or you will become slave of it. So it's up to you.
Remember, you have to decide how you can strive in this atmosphere. Thanks.
No, thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
And a mic check. Thank you so much. Thanks a lot, Dr. Sujit. Thank you so much. With this, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to the next session now. Thanks, Shrip, for moderating and hosting it so well. Ladies and gentlemen, our next session moves from strategy to the AI journey to the operations where it actually has to land. Underwriting claims, the work underneath, this is where AI either becomes real or falls apart. To take us through the insider view of ops, please welcome our panelists right here. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to call upon Mr. Chaya Bajpai, Head of Operations, Bharti AXA Life Insurance, Narendra Babu, National Heads, Liability Underwriting and Claims, New India Assurance, Dr. Ashish Sadana, Head Writing and Claims, Aegis Federal Life, Rishita Kulkarni, Head Claims, Manipal Cigna, General Insurance. And ladies and gentlemen, may I please request Mr. Doby to be here as the moderator. Welcome, so welcome on stage. Zordar taliyan. Let's give it up for all our panelists and Doby right here. It's all yours. The conversation starts and we are expecting the most insightful information for now from you. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for joining us here. I know a lot of our peers have been stuck in traffic, not able to. So first of all, the rains didn't allow us to start on time. So, but again, this panel is all about when the rubber hits the road. So everything is good. The pitches are nice. But when it lands in operations, in the world of underwriting, in the world of insurance, that's where it starts becoming more and more realistic. And then we realize that, not every pitch does what it is supposed to do. So the whole idea here is to talk about the reality of the world that we live in, not of the promises. I think promises are a lot made. So I want to start with Ms. Chaya. Here's the uncomfortable truth about customer experience, right? Your customer shops, banks at a very fast speed, right? But when it hits our, for various reasons, and it has been around for some time, even a simple endorsement takes days, right? We all know the reality. Now, sales to underwriting back and forth is treated as normal, right? We have accepted that world. And an incomplete file stops. Now, where does this gap between customer expectations and what we deliver break loudest? And what should leaders watch out? So I think we have already been speaking about collapsing of the journeys and everything. But what's your view and what challenges it brings internally? Because a lot of it has been running for some time. So I want to know your views on that. How do we solve for that?
In my opinion, the loudest break does not happen when I endorse a policy or underwrite a policy in 1 day or 3 days or 5 days. The biggest break happens when my customer has to deal with uncertainty, right? When I tell him 3 days and do it in 3 days, there is no challenge. A customer, I think, is the poorest actor in this entire chain of life insurance industry in India, and that's the most unfortunate fact. He is okay to accept what I tell him. He is okay if I deliver it better, but he is not okay if I tell him one thing and do not do that thing, because it creates uncertainty and anxiety, right? And unfortunately, so far in the last 20 years, life insurance industry has been great at creating anxiety for the customers. So I think the biggest challenge that lies in front of all of us, the new and the old life insurance companies, is to see how do we build that trust by use of technology. And therefore, is speed what the customer looking at, or whether it is transparency? Tell him what is exactly needed, right? That's the biggest challenge. So what should leaders watch out for? how, when, where am I engaging with my customers, right? What are my drop-off points? Where is the actual customer leakage happening in my journey? I think that is something that we really need to watch out for as leaders. We also need to watch out for how many times are we actually troubling the customer in the name of consent, information, and how is it that I make it simpler for my customer? So I think those are some of the things that I would watch out for.
It's interesting, ma'am, because what you're essentially speaking and the way I hear it is, let's go back to the basics, right?
First principles.
Simplify, first principles,
First
right?
principles.
And then many of the problems that we get into can be simplified. One classic example I can think of is, you ask somebody to fill up a paper form and then you struggle to digitize it.
Why would you create a digital journey which is replica of your physical form, right?
Exactly.
Like you said, the same customer is okay to go to Amazon and fill out his form, but my seller does not allow him to fill that digital journey when I create for him, right? So I have created that trust deficit by creating a middle layer, right? How many of us can reach the last customer? And that's where I'm saying the biggest thing for us to watch is how, when, and where am I engaging with the last mile, who is the customer?
No, that's very relevant observations. I want to move to the claim side of the story, Rishita, straight to you, right? So, I think health claims, the number of claims in health is far more. So, and when we look at, like I always say, when you are at the hospital, it doesn't matter how rich or how poor you are. You want to go home as fast as possible, right? And that afternoon is tough because everything is done. There's nothing medical happening except for waiting for an okay approval, right? So, and we know the problems, no? For 30 years now, tariffs, non-standard formats. It's hard to do symptoms, diagnosis, investigation, and it's all critical because that's where the money goes out. So the leakage has to be prevented. The ROI for solving many of these problems now is provable, yet adoption is slow. So what's the fear? And why is it? I'm sure all of us know it can be solved now, right? So what's stopping us from moving in? Why people are still hesitant in our industry? What's stopping us from delivering this for our customers, for example?
One of the basic thing that I want to talk here about when we talk about any automation or technology is, it is sold as an efficiency tool and not as an experience tool. And I mean, resonating to what my colleague was talking about, let's go back to basic. When you sell something as an experience tool, because the outcome has to be experience, what is the impact that we are creating in the journey of the customer, who is actually in the weakest moment when somebody is in the hospital? I think another challenge that I can think about is, the mentality which we were hearing in the earlier sessions also, the mentality of, just siloed way of thinking. Let's automate one thing, the entire journey is still broken. So let's not look at departments or maybe one piece, two piece, let's look at the entire journey. So rather than saying that let's automate the claim adjudication process, let's look at the journey. How do I look at the pre-authorization stage or the 48 hours after the discharge that we are talking about, before the discharge? How do I automate that and not the claim adjudication? When we look at the journey in entirety, I think we'll be able to bring that impact. And finally, my point here is how we bring that trust back. One of the major problems of penetration is because people don't trust insurance anymore, especially the health insurance side of it, because there is a lot of unpredictability when we talk about claim. What will happen to my claim? Nobody knows. 1 लाख का claim है, 50,000 मिलेगा, 60,000 मिलेगा या कुछ भी नहीं मिलेगा. Nobody knows. So I think we need to deal with that trust issue. So when we talk about trust, let's link automation to the NPS, to the retention, to the renewal, the new business that we are able to get in the cross-selling. I think if we are able to address these 2-3 things, we will be able to bring in the adoption faster.
Very right, ma'am. I think holistical view and we will solve many of these problems. And you're right. And it's not very different. I mean, almost all claims journeys are alike. I mean, it's just that the volume is higher. Motor claims also, you have a car, well bought, well paid for, but then it's in the garage for 5 days, 6 days, 7 days. So I believe the experience across claims is right. And predictability and transparency, to go back to what ma'am was earlier saying, it's essentially the same. If I know for sure, and we can prepare for many of these scenarios, right? The data is there. It's just that it's not stitched.
I think the journey is difficult to automate when we talk about life insurance, health insurance. It's a little easier when we talk about automobile or a motor.
Yeah, agreed,
But this is a little difficult because of the moving parts where what
agreed,
we have.
But I think, yes, the intent first itself that, this is wrong, and then I'm sure with the technology, the technology like this was not there before. And with that, Naren, I want to move to your side, right? You see the whole spectrum of it now. First you talked about underwriting, then we talked about claims. And with you, it's both underwriting and claims. Both of them optimize for different metrics often, right? And it's usually the same, and it's always the same customer, not usually, right? That's the whole premise of insurance. Now, when new business is pushing for speed, underwriting is looking for risk, and when you go too fast, often the claim experience gets deteriorated. So how do we balance it out? Where do these functions stop being separate problems and become one? So when you are looking at fix, or when you're looking at this problem, what do you see? What is this? So we already spoke about transparency. We already spoke about, not having this holistic view. But what's your point of view? Because you look at both the things together.
So the solution for this is to sell the right product. Now, if I have to know whether I have sold the right product, I'll be knowing only at the time of a claim. That is the real test when I come to know whether I've sold the right product, given the right solution to my customer. Now, there's always a disconnect. Many a time there's a disconnect between what the customer expects from the product and what it actually turns out to be. And this need not always be with retail customers. This is there even with corporate customers also. Day in and day out, we battle out. And most starkest form is liability insurance, where the part is written, which I'm heading currently in the New India Insurance Company. So the solution for this is that customization. We need customization of the product. We need to understand what the customer wants, what his needs are. And the point is to try to balance out. And for this, the underwriter, that is people like myself, then even the sales guy, and that includes the brokers also, the brokers and other intermediaries also, and the customer. All of us have to be in perfect sync and harmony about what each person is expecting. So this is something which can be solved by customization. We need to give tailor-made products to all our customers, not just the large corporate customers, but even the smaller ones. Now, the pertinent question is, am I doing customization in a true sense every day? As any underwriter, any typical underwriter. In one word, I would say no. Because the reason is that I wax eloquent about every day myself being a customized underwriter. We are dealing with tailor-made products, giving customized policies. But what we essentially are doing is that we have a particular sector for payments, like we take liability insurance or we take property insurance. Like for payments, those who are in the payments business, insurance, we have a particular set of coverages. For those who are in, say, suppose the banking business, we have a particular set of coverages. Then if somebody else is in manufacturing, chemicals, we have a particular set of coverages. But the point is that customization in a true sense? So that is not customization in a true sense because we are focusing on the sector. We are not focusing on the individual insured as such. What happens is two manufacturing companies manufacturing the same set of chemicals beside each other in the same industrial area, same turnover, everything, product mixes are the same. They may have unique needs, unique challenges. So are we going into the depths of understanding the customer? And the point is devising a tailor-made solution and constantly communicating with the customer. So that is something where the point is that it is, if we do this for our very large customers, very large corporate clients where we have dedicated relationship managers, dedicated officers also, we do it day in and day out. But are we doing it for the mid-sized customers? Are we doing it for the semi-corporate customers? Are we doing it for the retail customers? We are not doing it because the point is there are challenges in terms of implementation. So this is where I feel that AI can be a game changer. Because we need to have extensive information about all our customers. And the point is that we need to devise tailor-made solutions for all our customers. And we also need AI tools which not just can create a statistical report on it, but can also even analyze. But if we give a prompt about the point, does it analyze that these are the risks? Now, this insurers, if we're going to face some unique regulatory challenges, unique supply chain challenges. So there are going to be some unique political challenges which this customer might face because he exports to politically troubled countries. So all this information, if we have, and we get it in real time, and this can be analyzed properly in a proper manner, then we can have many customized and tailor-made solutions for our clients. And this is where I feel that AI can be a game changer.
Very, very interesting, because we suddenly moved from to questioning whether the product itself is right. And it probably works fine when we are looking at a general retail segment. And you're very right, as you go into niche insurance, the need itself is very different. And if you're not able to capture the right need and then don't have that flexibility, what I call is to personalize it, it's obvious that it'll create downstream problems for us. So, in a way, what we are saying, and even, one of the frequent things that I hear from businesses is, we are not able to launch new products. I'll give you a very different example. Look at what has happened to when you're buying an iPhone. If you walk into a Chroma, it doesn't matter which bank you're taking a loan from. All of them have the same interest rate. Most people take loan from the bank, which gives you the loan first. The TAT has become a differentiator. So you're right. If you want to go deep, the differentiation will not only be TAT, but in your case, when you're looking at different kind of products, I'm sure people will be more than happy in due course of time that I'm looking for, this particular need, and that to be addressed in the same TAT. So yes, being able to craft that product. And the other element that you're saying is, the way I hear it is, there is a human cognitive bias. I cannot take so much data. I cannot do it, at that level over and over again. So yes, that's a very classic example. If we are able to bring it back into the structure of, that we don't violate our first principles, right? We don't violate the risk. We are not taking additional risk, or we know what risk we are taking. We are not breaking the, the compliance. I think that would solve a lot of problems in, in the other areas, like you spoke about.
And speed is also very important. Just one, the way AI tools can generate information and even analytical frameworks in a very quick time, that is essential.
We have become ruthless as customers when it comes to speed, right?
Yes.
We want the same experience everywhere.
That's where AI can be a game changer.
Yeah.
Just one food for thought here. Insurance being so complex, it's not simple.
Agreed.
So when we say that we want to customize it, I think the first thing that we need to do is also make them aware or handhold. Because you give them a bouquet of 10 benefits, it's impossible
for customer to.
Yes, it will be another problem where people, just because of the complexity, people will not buy insurance.
Agreed. And so that's why it's important where you bring it and where you don't do it, right? So his example is more about, larger. I'm sure when you insure an ISRO satellite, the kind of due diligence that goes into that process is entirely different and justifies. And you're right, when you're buying, probably, unless we have supporting technology, it's very difficult to bring it. And at the end of it, our insurance penetration rates are so low, the awareness, and we know what we have come through, right? Mis-selling was so rampant. Thankfully it has gone down to some extent now. But you're right, we cannot make it more difficult for customers and create more problems. Very, very apt.
So mostly the customers don't even know what their risks are. So this is where the point is that we can step in, so that we can be not just insurers as such, but even risk partners, risk management partners.
Ashish, with that I come to you, and I think something that I was surprised to learn, and I spoke about it for years together as a matter of finding solace with that. I understand insurance, and the statement was very simple. Somebody told me that insurance, and it was a sales, gentleman from a sales and distribution. He said, insurance is the only product which is sold twice. So first you sell it to the customer, then you bring it back, and then you are internally selling it, right? And in this process, everything happens twice. So what I want to understand is, as somebody who's operating in the core of this, the underwriting, what do you hear most frequently from your sales team? And more importantly, what is it that you feel is missing from your customers, which should have been there in the lens of what we have at hand today?
Thanks, Toby. Yeah, I mean, I'll start with the personal experience first. This was when I was joining a insurance company in past. This was long back. So there was a question which was asked during induction. How many functions are there in an insurance company? So, I mean, people had different knowledge about that. So sales is there, operations is there, HR, admin and all those. So the answer was there are only two functions, right? So it's sales and sales support. Right, so at that point in time, it sounded a little awkward to me, right? But then eventually, with my interactions with senior management, my interaction with sales, I was more and more convinced that actually there are only two functions in an insurance company, right? It's sales and it's sales support. So being a part of this insurance fraternity for very long, for almost 25 years, managing a team of underwriters. What it was 25 years back and how we used to look at, this entire underwriting process was, limited to accept and reject. And that's the kind of perception sales will always carry. Now that perception is slowly and gradually changing, where underwriting team or the senior people in underwriting are involved in product strategy, in product development, in the sales strategy. I think there is a immense exposure that you get when you are a part of a sales strategy. That's where, so we have been talking about the customer experience, but then my emphasis would be on sales experience, right? When you see how much of a struggle it is to sell an insurance policy and what kind of disappointment it is when that policy gets declined by underwriter. So, I mean, when you look at the entire arrangement, there's a lot of scope for improvement. There's a lot of scope for, obviously, involvement of technology in this entire process. And I've always been curious, and I speak to my team, what do you do when you look at a non-medical case, right? I mean, when you look at an application where you don't need a medical or you don't need a financial. But then, I mean, it is the completeness of the application. So all that will be replaced by technology over a period of time. Even the medical automation is something that we are contemplating. So that will also happen. What underwriters will be, also on the PASA thing. So PASA is a project which takes long. I mean, every company does it, and they have been doing it for ages. But then I think that entire process of PASA should also get augmented. It should be much faster as it is right now. So as far as an underwriter's role is concerned, my internal customer, my sales team, expects much more than what we are able to deliver. The involvement in customer calling. So before I joined, I was in a customer call, and every time I speak to a customer, I'm amazed with the kind of, the entire story behind, efforts behind the entire sales, and obviously the frustration, the anxiety, linked to the issuance of a policy. So as far as underwriting is concerned, I think the scope of, supporting sales is immense, which is, I think, not optimized as yet. There's a lot we can do, the underwriters can do in terms of supporting sales with the secondary sale, upsell, cross-sell, the product design as well. I mean, the innovation in terms of what kind of products a customer can be sold.
Yeah, very, very right point. It's not easy to sell insurance.
It is not.
I think our empathy with the customer is genuine, but our empathy with insurance in a market like us, probably, when our penetrations have gone up and when everybody on the day one itself that, oh, I don't have insurance. I think we are far away from that. So until we reach that stage, everything that's get dropped off or, get dropped at any stage, especially due to internal factors, what information could have been asked, or, what if the sales guy knew at the first time itself, would definitely, because at the end of it, the commissions, the incentives are a critical part of, sales, how sales makes money. And yeah, you're very right. I mean, they probably get, don't get the due credit in how, even when we talk about, I mean, we always say, the large vision we need to change and insurance for all. But it's a tough job to sell.
Yeah.
And it's not easy. It will stay that way for some time. So yeah.
So how I train my team, I always tell them that, think of 9 options to issue a policy, and the 10th one can be to reject a policy, because the kind of effort that goes behind,
Agree.
onboarding a customer, and, the customer experience, if that goes wrong, then obviously the potential, the possibility of, having more, from the same customer's family, that goes away.
That's very, very interesting perspective. With that, I want to move to the next round. I think a lot gets spoken about what AI can do. But I think what's equally important is what it cannot do, and it needs to be addressed. And this question will always remain relevant because with the way things are moving, right? So what I want to talk about is, talk about 3 things. Something which AI can do and humans cannot. So I want to talk about that. Then I want to talk about one obvious friction that we are living with. And then third, I want to talk about something which we should not bring AI at all. So maybe we can go one by one. Let's talk about something which AI can do, but humans really struggle with. So maybe, Ashish, I can start with you, if that's okay.
Yeah, so I would say a spontaneous decision making is something that humans will struggle to do, and AI will be much faster as compared to humans.
I would say anything which is data entry kind of a job, be it automating the bill, be it, tariff digitization. I mean, very technical terms here from health insurance, but these are the things which are very, very easily, which can be, these are low skill work and should be taken away.
It's a pain, I know, it's a big pain, yeah. Naveen, how do you see what AI can do, but humans struggle with? What comes to your mind?
Actually, if you ask me, granularity in underwriting is where the point is that AI can play a very key role, where humans cannot. Like in granularity in underwriting, even if I have the information, like suppose let's take a simple D&O policy, directors and officers. It's not a simple policy, by the way. We have made it simple by cannibalizing the rates. Because I don't know how many of you into general insurance, they easily understand what I'm saying about the point of when we have cannibalized the rates. But directors and officers insurance policy, I need the pointers to much more information to go into the depth of the proposal. Like suppose I also need to study 270 pages or 300, 350 pages of the balance sheet.
And not miss that one line.
Huh?
And not miss that one line.
Yeah, not miss that one important line because I cannot miss a single red flag. A single red flag in a D&O policy can wreak havoc over my entire portfolio. That is the point. The claim severity is so high. So in this case, in such scenario, what happens? I need to read the entire balance sheet. Annual report 350 pages on an average. Then I also need to have what you call study the entire financials. Then the point is that I also need to do a lot of work with what is the impact of the regulatory actions. If this insured has operations across the globe, are global regulatory changes having an impact on their business? If they are listed abroad, what the point is that if they are listed in 2 or 3 countries, what impact the regulations over there, the business practices over there, or any events which have taken place over there have an impact on the underwriting decision I can take. I also need to scan and see the point that whether this insured was in the thick of any controversy, even a minor controversy. A minor controversy can also become a major controversy 6 months down the line, and I'll be ending up with a big loss in my book, actually. So this is one. And I also need to say, if I give a rate of 5 paisa, these rates are very common, 5 paisa, 3 paisa, 1 paisa also. What will be the impact on my portfolio? How will my portfolio, if I insure 10 such risks, how will my portfolio bleed? What is the impact on the portfolio? And how is my portfolio behaving, by the way? The point is that, like suppose the point, have I already, if I give, I'm forced to give a competitive rate, a very competitive rate of 1 paisa for this risk. What will be its impact on the portfolio? How many such risks I have already insured? Because I cannot stack my portfolio with so many ultra-competitive risks. The point is because that will affect me a lot. So, and I also need some 2-3 simulated scenarios.
Exactly.
I also need some simulated scenarios as the part is that if suppose there is a regulatory change, what will be the impact on, what are the chances of a D&O claim? So and if there is, suppose the partner is in some other political event, what is the impact of it on the insured's profit, which may lead to a D&O claim? So all these things I need to do it for a simple, if I employ a human to do it, it will take hours, man hours probably.
Yeah.
Probably I can do it for a very large proposal, pay 150 crores or something. But for proper underwriting, precise underwriting, I need to do it for even a 10 crores or even a 15 crores. So which a human underwriter like me cannot do it.
So essentially, if I hear you, what I'm saying is the eye for detail, granularity and grind irrespective of the policy that you're selling, because your 110 crore policies and 100 into 10 crore policies is actually
that's right.
the same thing, right? And the third point you're saying is bring that discipline that you don't miss.
Yes.
Right? Repeatability and everything. Those and yeah.
Accuracy and precision.
Yeah, precision, right? So,
Accuracy and
very,
precision.
very valid. So, and many of these things get missed.
Yeah, and this is where the point is that, AI can play a very key role in which a human cannot.
We in our decision making, humans are very simple. If you give too much of data, I'll assume whatever is simple is the best and move on.
Because algorithms, machine learning, predictive analytics, generative AI, everything should work in perfect sync and harmony for statistical proper underwriting, and that is what my expectation and my plan of using AI is.
True. Chaya, how do you see it? One area where...
Answer is all of the above. It is not easy for a human to analyze this much of information, data, regulation, and deliver it with spontaneity and say that these are your top 3 best options to go back to the customer. I think this is humanly not possible for a human to do, which AI can do on a speck of a second for you.
No, very, very right. And now, if I may add my implementer's perspective, even for the AI to get it right, it's very important that we treat AI just like a human.
Correct.
And give them the same set of, instructions, SOP, rules that need to be followed. Because without it, AI is like, rogue AI, which will create more problems for us. So that framework structuring is equally important.
I just want to add to what you just mentioned. And I heard it in the first panel. Most often for AI, we are talking about use cases. The implementers themselves don't know what to expect from AI. If you are clear in terms of what you want the AI to deliver, you will have much better solutions, which will be more impactful to your organization.
Agreed, ma'am. Let's flip it. Maybe start from you only. Which is one area where AI should not go at all. And I know it's a wrong question to ask, but knowing where
Especially
we are
for
today.
you, right? When you're selling an AI use case.
There's no silver bullet, no?
Yes.
So, standing today where we are in terms of how we understand technology, what is one area where, AI should not go? And it's not just about tech, there are so many ways to look at that question.
I think here we'll have to step a little back and say that areas which are gray, which are not objective, where ethics are involved, where employees and humans are involved, right? Where decisions related to life and death are involved. Those are the areas where you will need a human in the loop or on the loop. Items which are objective in a digital sense where the answer is either 1 or 0, those definitely AI should handle. Wherever the answer is neither 0 nor 1, you will need a human in place. That's what I think.
Interesting. How do you see it, Narendra?
So I agree with most of what she has said, and my thing is that insurance selling is an area where the point is that, instead of AI and chatbots, I think we should have human selling policies by using AI, using chatbots, and using all the AI tools. Make sales much more effective, but selling is an area where the point is that, humans should be involved, whether it's a corporate client or whether it's a retail client, because the personalized touch is very important in insurance, because insurance is sold and not bought.
Interesting. Rishita, how do you see it?
I kind of second whatever they have mentioned, and Chaya has kind of summed it up for all of us, I would say. But if I talk about specifics, then I would say anything that requires empathy, their AI should not be there. So if I talk about an example, say in a health insurance, a cashless claim, somebody picking up the phone and talking is much more important than a bot or somebody answering that call. So these are some of the areas where we should never automate in terms of removing the human or the manual angle. Wherever there is empathy, a human should be there.
That's so right, ma'am. AI should make us more human is what I personally feel. If it takes away and moves us in a direction of mindless automation and and takes away our empathy, our sensitiveness, I think that would be a very terrible way of implementing, even if it means, great, business benefits. But I think in our industry, it's even more relevant because why do we buy insurance? Insurance is like an umbrella, no, when it rains. And at that moment, if you are talking to machines for which it's a 0-1 decision, I think a voice sometimes does much more, when our moms still, irrespective of what age, talk to us, even when a stranger smiles, I think those things still need, sir. So Ashish, how do you look at it?
Yeah. So if I talk about a hospital kind of an arrangement, right, where doctors have to interact with the patient's family. So AI or a bot will not be able to convey the same message with the same kind of sensitivity, empathy, right? So if there is a medical complexity, or if there is some serious decision which has to be taken by the relatives. So that is from that context, if I talk about insurance, right, communicating with the customers. Selling insurance, as you rightly mentioned, should not be, should not be given to AI to handle. Same is in terms of customer interactions with which is related to medical, stuff, medical information. It has to be conveyed with some empathy, because, customers, especially in India, the awareness with respect to medical conditions is pretty low, right? So that kind of interaction should involve humans. And also during claims, the whatever, as far as documentation is required, and, some element of human, interaction has to be there. Because it's a very sensitive, very difficult kind of a situation where the customers, relatives or the nominees have a great element of doubt whether the claim will be settled, how much time it is going to take to get the claim settled, whether the full amount will be settled or not. Because as the medical information is not very clear to the people, same is with insurance also. People have very little, knowledge about how this entire insurance arrangement works, right? Because someone, some 10 years, 15 years back came and sold them a policy. Now they have that hope that the entire, promise will be made. So with respect to communications in these delicate situations, I think human, touch has to be there.
No,
that is where we should avoid using AI. Bots cannot convey the same kind of message with the same element of sensitivity and empathy.
I think when I look at it from, and see, I'm an outsider.
You're no more an outsider.
Thanks for that. But still, I mean, see, the way I look at it is, and the way I take this message home is, when we are looking at use cases, when we are looking at ROI, when we are looking at everything, there should be one box for all of us to put and evaluate whether it elevates our experience as a human or degrades it, right? In the same way, we are talking about morality, we are talking about empathy, in the same lens that we look for. How do I look at a use case? I'll share my lens. I mean, it's very easy, right? I put the compliance first, then I put business value, and then I put the technology, right? That's the stack. I think what we are saying is, on top of all these lenses, there's one more lens, the human lens, right? And I think none of us is saying that we should not use AI in claims or we should not have bots. Probably that bot is not what is talking to a customer, in a certain scenario. It may still be feeding to the person who's talking, because the speed, the agility, the transparency, all of it matters. But what we are saying is, in that stack, maybe the first thing is, that human element of whether it's experience, it's elevating ourselves as humans or degrading it, for our customers. I mean, that's a wonderful thought. Most places I don't see this coming this way, because it's the fear that gets sold, AI will take away our jobs. But I think essentially what I'm taking home from this conversation is, AI must make us more human. If it's not, even if it solves a lot of problems, we'll not be very proud of where we are going. So thank you for this wonderful conversation, panelists. I know it says 0-0 for a long time. We are stretched at time, but I really enjoyed this conversation. Thank you so much for your time, and it was a pleasure.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much to all the panelists right here, and thank you so much, Dobby. Fabulous. It was a really insightful conversation, really insightful panel altogether. With this, ladies and gentlemen, coming to an end. And yes, that was an enlightening discussion into the detail of how insurance works on the floor. Honestly speaking, an eye-opener for an outsider like me, and I believe it would have been equally impactful for all of us. With this, we come to an end of this chapter of Fulcrum for Insurance. I would like to invite Shoaib again on the dais for closing remarks. Can we have Shoaib right here on the stage, please? Welcoming Shoaib once again. That's the time for a closing remark, and that's all yours.
First of all, huge thanks to everyone for joining in. This gathering is very important for me. I feel that I'm able to bring, it's like a family for me. I keep on meeting all of you at different places. It's an opportunity for us to bring all of you together. I hope we had an interesting discussion today, from sales to underwriting to ROIs and how AI can be used and cannot be used and all those kind of things. In my view, it's a game changer. And I'm not just saying it because I come from the IT side, but I think looking at everything that AI can do, it's going to revolutionize a lot of things. I always feel that there'll be lots of new companies that will be formed, which will be AI first, but there is a huge opportunity for existing organizations to embrace AI and then transform themselves, because you have an advantage, right? You already have a whole distribution network, you have partners, you have well-established organizations, set up all sorts of processes, right? Which is a huge advantage, because nobody can beat that. That takes years to build. But the challenge on the other side is that how do you kind of take that huge organization, huge baggage along with you and then also transform? So one time one customer told me, we were in a tough situation in a project, and he was the operations head. And generally you will hear those kind of things from an operations head, right? He said that, do you want to kind of, what you are asking me to do, you are asking me to change tires of a running car. So that we have two options: take car to the workshop, then fix it. Less risk for you, less risk for me. But if you're asking me to change tires of a running car, it's a huge risk. But I pushed him that if we ever go back to workshop, it is very hard to bring that car back on the road, because then there'll be so many things, right? You'll have to undergo the inspection, whole 160, 200 point inspection again. And that is a tougher thing to do, rather than let's put our 2x, 3x, 4x effort and then change the tires of a running car. So it's a huge risk, but I think there are huge rewards. And you rightly said here that ROI is paramount. So what are the right kind of use cases where the benefits can be made again easier, and those are the kind of things. But there are frameworks, good things that can be done now. So thank you so much for joining in, and all the best. Let's see when we meet next time what kind of transformations or reimagining. I prefer the word reimagining. I kind of think that digital transformation was not good enough. So I always feel that we should rethink and reimagine the organization, how it will work. Another thought, just a closing remark. Whenever we are doing AI, I think one thing that I'm not seeing in the organization is people are not thinking that a lot of roles will collapse in the organization. Systems will collapse. We have been building a lot of layers of systems over a period of time. Those systems will collapse, but with that, every organization also has to think that what's the new organization structure? How the different roles now, what are the roles which can be merged, and what are the roles which will stay? So those are the kind of things that we'll see. Probably when we meet next time, I'll see all of you here, and we'll see what kind of transformation, what kind of world we are living in. All the best to all of us. Thank you so much. And please enjoy. Let's have an informal chat. Thank you.